your weekend?
My weekend was surprisingly good. I had good traffic at an open house, and I'm about to put in an offer on somebody's dream home. More about that later.
Oh, that's very exciting.
It is
Um,
very exciting.
I employed some colleagues to do open houses for me, and overall traffic was not great.
It
And
was
so that
not
was
great, but I had good traffic. I mean, I had good
oh, I
people.
see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a lot of foot traffic, but I wrote a contract and it was accepted last evening, so that's great. A little single family in Lincoln Park. So I have clients who are very happy this morning, and that's great for us
yay.
right before Thanksgiving. And a couple of second showings. So yeah, it was a good weekend overall.
Excellent, excellent. I have got to today do the negotiation on that offer on the dream home, and hopefully we can get it sorted out. So,
And hence our
yay.
topic, points of negotiation, which we're going to get to in a minute. But that's
Yeah,
uh, negotiating a contract is an important skill that we work on as real estate agents, how we advise our clients, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I put together, as usual, a couple of stats on the market. Rather than looking at a specific neighborhood this week, Kyle, what I did was I put together the basic market area that we work in. So the lakefront neighborhoods,
north.
along with Westtown and the near west side. You see that okay?
Absolutely.
Number of homes for sale. Look at this. I kind of look at, there's the highest.
But
We're not
remember,
seeing,
we were complaining that there was no inventory. To be fair, it's now we're getting to inventory. Go ahead. You were going
you're
to get
right.
there.
Buyers have choices. This is a good time for buyers to be out there. Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh, between interest rates and the choices and the motivation of the sellers, it's like the perfect storm for somebody who wants to get into real estate and own property right now.
Yeah.
7,000 properties for sale. Okay.
Because we've been begging and begging for people to start putting their homes on the market, but they couldn't because they were underwater.
Right. So this is good. Okay, number of closed sales. Isn't this the fun? Like you got a pretty peak
Yeah.
here, got a pretty peak here, got a pretty peak here, and then
Welcome
it's
to
nuts.
2020. 2020.
2020. It's like all those
Nuts.
Facebook posts of people saying how 2020 has slapped us around, right?
Yeah.
But
We're recovering, all things considered.
we are recovering. Yes. Median sales price. Look at that. As much as people
Incredible.
are complaining, we are at a high in median sales price.
Agreed.
So,
And I report each week on my LinkedIn account the chart of sale prices. We are going up this year, especially this summer. We are way up over 2019, and it's delightful.
yeah, yeah. Very strong market. Don't listen to what everybody's saying on the
Yeah,
news.
God's sake.
Month supply. Now, this is okay. 6.4 is not crazy. Remember, 6 months is a static market. Yes, it's higher, but as you pointed out, Kyle, we didn't have enough inventory before, and that's why the supply was so low.
I'm going to say a different word than static. Balanced.
Thank you.
All the power is not in the seller's hands. All the power is not in the buyer's hands. It's a balanced market, and that's the healthiest market for all of us,
Absolutely.
buyers and sellers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I have. But I just,
So good.
yeah, I thought that was really nice stuff. I talk about the foot traffic not being there, but combination Bears game, which,
Oh, yeah.
we're talking about that could be something, it could not, but maybe we're just not getting the looky-loos.
You're right. And the Bears had won 2 in a row, and we were all believing we were going to have 3 in a row. They tried to give us a heart attack.
They came back.
But they came back.
Yeah.
I heard them shouting behind me when I was working, and I heard all of a sudden this shout, and I'm like, oh, they've come back. And then I Google the
Yeah,
score, and the score is like, no, we're down. I'm thinking, I think we may have come through, because that was some good shouting. Anywho,
yeah, that was good.
okay.
Well, you know what? I do have to say this, and this is one of the many reasons I love Chicago, is I was driving up Dayton Street from my showing, because I was showing 1862 Dayton yesterday for a second showing. Yeah. And I looked over to my left, and there was one of those front patios, and they had an outside TV, and a bunch of people were sitting around. And I just thought to myself, that's everywhere around Chicago right now, where people are just outside with their families, or maybe friends that they've been social distancing with, and they're all enjoying the fall weather, and it just really made me smile. So,
well, I was at my showing at 1948 North Hudson, and across the way was the River Shannon bar, just an iconic Chicago bar.
Yeah.
And they had taken a big screen TV outside and were broadcasting it to the people who were on their sidewalk cafe. And of course, because, I'm able to watch across the street, you couldn't hear the sound, God bless them.
Yeah.
But I could watch the game. It was sort of great.
Yeah. Ingenious Chicagoans. I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna watch our Bears no matter what.
That's right.
All righty.
With this season. So let's talk about negotiating. What was there a particular spark that made you decide you wanted to talk about that this week?
Well, yes. One, I did an article about negotiations for my newsletter, but let's talk about, because a lot of people don't realize that negotiation starts at the first showing.
Yes.
So, and you don't know that you're going to like the property. So let's just talk first about buyers.
Okay.
And a lot of buyers don't realize that you are developing a relationship at that first showing with the most important person initially, the listing agent.
Yeah.
Because the listing agent's going to be telling the seller about you. So relentlessly positive, dress appropriately, show yourselves to be interested, kind, thoughtful. All of that is going to put you already into a good situation.
Right.
So that's my first tip. No, going to you now.
Don't give too much away in that first showing either.
Don't give too much away, but always be as pleasant a person.
Right.
That you want the listing agent to look forward to a second showing.
But you don't want to be the one that says, "Oh my God, I love this. I have to have this house."
No. But you can say
buyers do that.
So, for example, I have sellers who want to hear compliments.
Yeah.
So for you to say, "This is a very pretty kitchen."
Yes.
For you to say, "These high ceilings are lovely," allows the seller to be positive about you, to say nothing, to keep everything close to the vest. You think that's going to help you, but instead it makes them not understand you and then misinterpret the steps that are going to come later. So being exactly who they want you to be allows you then to come in a little low and not have them despise you. You know what I'm saying? So it allows you to do other things that are prudent. And so I really believe that coming in and being the ideal person that they want to buy from or want to sell to, even if you don't, even if you don't really love it, just try it out. Yeah.
And let me say one more thing. And this is to the people who are out there and choosing to work with a real estate agent. Part of what helped get my transaction together this weekend is that I had worked with that real estate agent before. You and I both respond quickly to other agents. We show up on time. We respect the other agents. And that in turn makes us really an appealing agent for them to want to work with, which really is part of the puzzle. And in this case, there was a second potential offer out there, and my
Right.
buyers wanted the property. But this other agent had worked with me and said to me, I explained to my sellers, I know who you are. I've worked with you before. You know, what
You
you
come
do.
through. You come through on your
Right.
promises, and that's huge.
So those buyers out there who really want a great deal and think they can just call up anybody to show them the property, they're doing themselves a disservice, is what I'm saying.
Well, and just one more point on this. In a seller's market, when there are a lot of buyers, having a really strong, positive broker with relationships with the other brokers and who comes across as deeply professional to stranger brokers.
Right.
So you'll often be meeting somebody for the first time,
Right.
but coming off as sane, helpful, straightforward. They will take
Absolutely.
your offer with less money because they know the deal will actually get done. That's
Exactly
huge.
right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I was talking about a pro. So the first 2 points we've made, relentlessly pause, be a good somebody. You've got to be a buyer that they want. Second, you have to have a broker that they want. And that's
Right.
either in a pro buyer's market or a pro seller's market, because
Yes.
either way, who you are, the person, you can't discount the personal.
Yes.
But in a pro buyer's market, what are some of the things that you can do that get the seller, who's probably going to be a little disappointed about price, to sell to you at that price that reflects a strong buyer's market? What are some of the additional things that you would tell your buyer?
In a buyer's market or a seller's market?
We're first talking about buyer's market, and then we'll talk about seller's market. So for example, I put, be really flexible about closing date. That's something you can give. If you can give, be really flexible. It gives them an out, because then they can take their time or they can move it really up, whatever it is. That was one of my examples. Do you
and
have
you want
any?
to know what their motivation is. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
their motivation is to get out fast.
Yeah.
And they don't want to necessarily take every piece of furniture or clean it all out,
Right.
or, you know, so understanding the seller's motivation is very helpful. As
And
you
again, those
know,
relationships, we can get that information out of the agent.
right, exactly right. And as you know, but our viewers may not realize that when you come to terms eventually, the two things that you can't change during attorney review are price and closing date unless both parties agree.
Right.
In other words, you can't just say, oh, I changed my mind, I want to close a week later. So those are the two we want to be most careful with, but those aren't the only two negotiating points within a contract. So let's talk about those a minute.
Yeah.
Personal property. And here's my point on personal property. The seller has their list of personal property that they're including. It's generally things that are attached.
Plugged in,
mounted
on the wall. Yeah, go ahead.
You may fall in love with something like that, but I would highly recommend not to put that in the beginning, because that muddies the waters, especially if it's a beloved piece of theirs too. You're buying a property. You are not buying a mirror on the wall or a table or whatever. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. That can be horse trading at the end.
Later on, as a way to close the deal or whatever.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about financing. Sellers want somebody who has the ability to pay and whose terms they are comfortable with. Because if I'm selling my home, I want to make sure you get to the closing table, especially if I'm buying another property. God help me. If you can't get to the closing table and close, then I can't buy my property and we are stacked up and in trouble. So basically, the more money you put down, the more earnest money you put down, the better off you're going to be.
Well, you raised a whole bunch of good points. And I just had a deal almost go south because of that this summer, about the underlying sale didn't go through. And I apologize, all this noise coming through. So let's talk. There are a couple of things, and this point is when it's a seller's market, meaning the seller has the power. There are few properties, and there are multiple buyers. I say get your mortgage everything lined up so that you don't have to put a mortgage contingency on the sale contract. That is something that makes really good sense in a market where the mortgage rates are moving around, when you're not entirely sure about your job, when you don't have a great credit rating, etc. I can understand you've got to have a mortgage contingency, and lawyers want you to have a mortgage contingency. But if you know, and if you've done the pre-work, which you have to do in a seller's market, to know that you can get a mortgage, right, and that you can get a mortgage on terms you can accept, and you know the limits of how much you can borrow, then go with an all cash offer. It doesn't mean you're going to pay all cash. It means you're going to take the risk upon yourself that you cannot get a mortgage.
Right.
And that you will lose your down payment, not your down payment, your earnest money.
Right.
If you do. And very often, as you get closer to some screwy thing happens and you need a couple more weeks, very often the seller will give it to you once you're down that road. Right. But the point is to make yourself stand out in a seller's market when there are lots of buyers. All cash is the king.
Right. Absolutely.
So what do you think?
Right.
But if you can't, Anne's point is exactly right. Say you only need a 75% mortgage, even though you might get an 80 or 90% mortgage, but just say you're making your commitment on getting a 75% mortgage. So there are things you can do to hedge enough to protect yourself while seeming like a really strong buyer.
Right.
Would you agree?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Anything else you want to talk about before we talk about the love letter?
Yes. So this has happened to me a number of times. Sometimes the person who's selling needs to lease back. Mm-hmm. They need a week because the new place that they're moving to has to be painted. They don't want to go to a hotel. They just want to spend some nights in their home, but they need you to have sold so that they can buy the next. I mean, they need you to have bought so they can buy the next thing and then have it painted and cleaned out. So sometimes accommodations that are personal, lease back, maybe for free, let them stay a week, but while holding some extra money in case they trash the place. They're never going to trash the place, but just in case.
And this is why, if in a case like this, you definitely need to have been kind to one another before and during negotiations in order for this kind of situation to be a possibility.
Absolutely. In a pro-selling situation, when the seller's the strong one, coming in fast, making a decision quickly, and then putting a time limit on the offer creates some urgency in that seller so they don't just sort of sit back and wait for offers to come in. You have 24 hours to decide, and then I go away. Yeah. So create the urgency that they've created by putting their property on the market at a good price. So that's another thing you can do. You can really put the screws to them. And now we're going to go to your letter.
To the
your
love letter. Yeah.
Your love letter.
When buyers submit an offer, I always recommend that they do a love letter, as do you. And this is the letter that says who they are. When sellers sell their home, they want to know who's buying the home. And not just if you're in a multiple offer situation, but then of course you have to have it. But in any event, whenever you present an offer, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's why I love your home, and we look forward to moving in and taking care of your home and moving forward as stewards of the property.
On so many levels, that's important. One, all sellers think that they're selling the most wonderful home that's ever been because, of course, they've lived there and they've maintained it or not maintained it. But either way, they're like, it's got great bones, you know, even though I haven't put a nickel into it. So, and they want to like you. They want to think that you, often, not everybody, wants to think that you're going to be as lovely as they are. So telling them all of that is fine. It also sets up, because in attorney review, you're going to have, after the inspection, you're going to have to point out some things that are a problem with the home, for
Right.
which you either want money back or you want them to fix. And to have said something very friendly and shown yourself to be reasonable, et cetera, up front, allows you to, in the nicest possible way, with a very good lawyer who doesn't create firestorms, negotiate to where it should be at the end of this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's it. Those are the top line things.
What do you do if you're a seller? What's your negotiation strength there? I'm not going to give you the property. Well, yeah, that too. What else? What do you tell your sellers of how to drag these people up, drag the price up? Because that's really what the sellers want. They want to drag the price up.
Well, I mean, we've talked about a lot of this, and you know, a good part of the negotiation from a seller's perspective is making people see the value in the home. And for every property that's different, but it might be the listing agent talking about comparables during the showing, to set them up before they dig in their heels and say, oh, well, I'm only going to pay X for this. How about the fact that this property on a higher floor is selling for $800,000 more because they cleared the building to the north. So if you're willing to live with the view, you've got a really good bargain here. So
yes,
those kinds of things are helpful.
Yes, and your point about data allows you to push back and pull them up. I also tell sellers, never say I'm not going to negotiate, because even when so a seller, depends on your seller. First, you got to prep your seller that any offer is a wildly huge compliment. Yeah. Even if it's a low ball, it's a compliment. They want your property and they're trying to get it at a great price. So I've told my sellers, even before we list, at the listing agreement signing, I say, we are going to respond and counter every offer that comes in. Right. You might come down $10, but we are going to counter to show that we're in it and we're serious. Right. So one, always countering. Two, keeping emotion out of it. Three, being prompt in your response. Again, you want to create that. You want to create that urgency coming back to the buyer. Falls in your court.
Exactly right. Yes.
Here's my number. Falls back to you. That can really work to your benefit. Right. What else you do? Yeah.
Well, and just like we were saying before, sometimes it's not always money. Sometimes it's giving them the chance to move in when they want to and understanding what their goals are. So
yeah, so for example, I'm about to have a situation where the buyer wants a longer close, which apparently is going to be fine for the seller, so that they can get their ducks in a row while living in their own existing home, because there's going to be a ton of work to do. So getting the plans drawn, going out to bid, so that once you close, you can move. So whatever time you're spending in a different home is kept to a minimum. So that's, those kinds of things. Understanding the buyer's needs so that you get your best price.
Right.
If that's if price is most important. Yep. Excellent. Okay. I have one more thing for you. So my fantasy property of the week, I chose the Baird and Warner yellow. Isn't that better than the white? 2550 North Lakeview, penthouse 3801, which is actually 2 stories. It's a duplex. It's on the market for the low price of $13 million. 5 bedrooms, 5.1 baths, so 5.5 bathrooms, 8,000 square feet. It has a private interior elevator. So if you can't walk up the stairs, and sometimes I can't either, you take the interior elevator. The assessments are only $10,500 a month, and the taxes are a mere $21,502. So I was at dinner last night with a friend who's super connected, and she tells me that this has been rented. It's not shown as rented in the MLS.
Well,
And not only that, she tells me that it's not only rented, but it's about to go under contract to the people who rented it. But anyway, so it may not be available. Here's your entryway.
Wow.
Wowza. I would insist on all the furniture too, because some of the, I mean, look at that chair.
Oh my
golly,
gosh.
good
yes,
golly.
it's stunning.
Look at those, look at that light fixture. Oh, and look at the
Wow.
woodwork also. So here's the living dining area, one of the living dining areas. But look at this. So this is at the tip top, and those are those interesting French mansard sort of roofy
Yes.
kind of, I forget what it's called, but it's so
mansard roof.
beautiful.
Yep.
I did it right. Oh, look at that. So this is the other view of this space, and look at that. That is such an elegant staircase.
Wow.
They spend like 10 pictures on the staircase alone. This is the kitchen breakfast area. I could live there. This would be my home.
Look at the view out your window from your kitchen, right? I could almost wash dishes there.
Oh, and what you don't see is you can't see that at my hand. This area here,
Yeah.
you see the lake and the park as well as the city. It's a south-facing view. Oh my God. The family area. I don't know what this little area is over here, but it looks like a grill. Doesn't that look like there's another kitchen over here? I can't tell.
Yeah,
It's
it
so,
does.
I've got the floor plan. Of course I do. So we can ooze. The guitar room, because everybody has a guitar room. How beautiful is that? God. And looking, oh, first of all, did we just spend just a moment? Look at that view. Look at that blue lake and sky. Oh, this is my bathroom. No, it's not. But wouldn't you love that to be your bathroom? Oh.
Very
I can't
interesting to have
tell.
those medicine cabinets face, right there at the water.
Oh, yes.
Huh. Very interesting.
Oh, it just shows it as a bedroom. It doesn't say it's the primary bedroom, but look at that. Oh, look at all that, the lighting up here. Oh, oh.
And no window treatments. No need for window treatments there.
No. I think they probably do have some sort of window treatment.
Slides down, yeah.
Yeah, slides down. So kitchen, dining room, family room. Oh, the loggia. That's where it is. That must be, that was that room, because it's got its own grill.
Outdoor.
It must.
Right?
It must. Office. This is somebody else's unit over here, apparently. Beautiful, beautiful. And then over here, look at that. Master closet, master bed. Look at how big that master bed.
Everybody has a view.
So there are two. Oh, so this is the master bathroom. As we say, the primary bathroom. This is the and then look at how big that is. That is bigger than my house. Office, bedroom, media room. Listen, these extra bedrooms could also be offices. Can you just imagine how fantastic that would be?
Yeah.
Lovely. That's my fantasy home of the week. Stop share. Your turn.
No, you know what? I can't top that. Mine is lovely, but that is sensational. So I think
it may not be available
right
though.
There. Yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you everybody for watching us this week.
Yes. Thanks for watching. Stay in touch with us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.